Welcome to Nashville Housing First Responders. And this is going to be our second episode. And we have host Miss Kenita, the homeless CEO Patterson, Miss April Burns Norris, who's not with us today, but she's the people's advocate. And then we have Miss Charzetta Hall, executive producer of I Have a Testimony.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about some stuff today regarding Nashville Housing First Responders. And so, as we dive into today's conversation, I want to gently acknowledge a moment in this journey regarding housing disparities across Nashville, Davidson County, right? And so, as Nashville's first historically elected chair of the Homeless Planning Council, my 1 year term was unexpectedly concluded 2 months early without any formal notice because I was not reelected to serve on the Homeless Planning Council according to the entities that be, right? I learned of this transition not through official communication but as a passing update. Let me be clear, when we speak on these matters, it's never a complaint. It's a truth born of our collective lived expertise. And when lived expertise speaks truth to power, it challenges systems to be accountable. Our local HUD Continuum of Care strategic plan calls for lived experience to lead first inclusively. Each of the most recent collaborative applicants responsible for managing the CLC funds intended to support this very vision has consistently refused to compensate those of us with lived expertise. This is a continued direct conflict with the CLC charter that outlines payment for such work. This podcast is a space of truth telling, a space where the voices that systems often overlook are not just heard, they are censored. I bring this forward not for conflict, but for clarity. We must hold systems to their own standards, and we must do so with grace, with resolve, and without apology. So, welcome to Nashville Housing First Responders. And so, that's what we're kind of talking about today, the inequities of housing disparities across the city, and those of us that have lived the experience and having a stifled voice. So
That's right.
I'll pause there and let our other host, Miss Charzetta, say anything that she would like. I kind of like to have an intro to come into the show. So that's our intro.
Thank you, Tanisha, and thank you for having me on the show. And I'm really enjoying the topic that you're going to be talking about. I believe that it's needed. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the people deserve to have their voices heard. And through your message, you think of the thousands and thousands of people that need your voice, and that you have an input that you can share that give them some type of hope. And a lot of times when people are praying for a change,
Mm-hmm.
there's always someone
Wow.
that God will bring forth that hear the voices of the people and want to work with the people. So I think your topic, I think that what you're going to share with us is very inspirational, because I know it's very inspiration to me.
Yes, ma'am.
All the texts that you send me, I read them, and it brings joy to my heart to know that what you are doing, and even what April is doing, and others that is on the, I call it the battlefield, but
Mm-hmm.
not in a fighting way, but a
Spiritual.
spiritual challenge
Mm-hmm.
that you all are coming up against, to have a voice, because it's always going to use somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
But yes, I am the executive producer of I Have a Testimony. This is not the show, I Have a Testimony. But that's a title that will be with me
Mm-hmm.
wherever I go. And if I'm a guest or something, I will use that title.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
being a part of I Have a Testimony gives people a voice that they can talk about and give a testimony of what they've been through, what they're going through, and even the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Because a testimony not only is it spiritual, it can be personal and professional.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that is one of the reasons why I'm so into what you and April are doing. I'm just going to do this little shout out like I always do.
Yes, ma'am.
Because there's so many people that are going through things. But I just like to do a shout out to all the people, whoever you are that's in the hospital, the nursing home, the foster care system, runaway children, missing people, uh, those that are incarcerated, want to keep them in prayer, but uplifting Texas and what they're
Yes.
going through and the loss of the children. You know, we have to be each other's strength in a time like this, understanding that these things happen and it's very hurtful, and the family are the ones that suffer, that are left behind
Mm-hmm.
because you lose a loved one. So I have to look at it in that instance,
Mm-hmm.
and my prayer goes out to anyone that was affected, whether it was your niece, your cousin, your friend, or the mothers and fathers, uncles, grandparents that may have lost their life as well. Some things come unexpected.
Mm.
Some things just come. And a lot of times we're not prepared for it. So the system needs to be set up a little different so people can be warned of these things.
Yes.
And whenever they tell you to get out, get out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you don't have time to get out.
Yeah.
And I have to look at it like it's just a tragedy. But in the spite of the tragedy, just keep the families lifted up,
Yes.
and just do what we can do to be encouraging, to be somebody's strength. And that's what it's all about. We need to be each other's strength at
Yes,
a time
at all
like this.
times.
So I'm going to turn it back to Kaniki, the
Yes,
host
ma'am.
of the show.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
that.
thank
I've been
you.
watching that, and I just saw various stories. I saw the children that were rescued. They were worshiping on the
Yes, they
bus. I thought that was phenomenal to be able to worship through something like that, a
Yes.
tragedy, like you said, and
Yes,
trauma.
and then I want to say one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
As I spoke about Texas, Washington D.C. has 34 black girls missing.
Missing.
Some
Yes.
of them may be Hispanic, I don't know. Like to keep
Mm.
their families in prayer as
And
well.
then,
Give
yeah.
strength too.
Yeah.
Show more about it. Talk a little bit more about it because you're not really hearing about
Wow.
it in the media. And let's just be each other's strength.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
In such a time as this,
That's this.
I want to, on that note, I know when it was, I have a testimony, I always had something positive or motivational to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to pause kind of before we get into a little bit more of what we're talking about with housing first responders today. But just to pause and give reverence, I think that's very important, and it goes into a flow. We talked about that a little bit earlier, how just flowing in the Holy Spirit is the best thing to do, and just be in the Holy Trinity's footsteps. So July 8th, for through him both of us have access in one spirit to the Father. Ephesians 2:18. So Lord, just as the Jews and Gentiles were all presented the path leading to you, so are all those in the world today. Search our hearts, O Lord. Don't let petty disagreements or differences of opinion lead us astray. We are so lost without you, Lord. Thank you for your open invitation to us all. As we get to know our neighbors, we realize more things unite us than divide us. And that is a powerful statement and message for right what we're going to be talking about. Because today, July the 8th, I got back an ethical review that I submitted regarding exactly what I read about the treatment of myself as the first historical chair of the Homeless Planning Council and the Continuum of Care, which is from HUD. So that's a national entity. There are several different COCs across the state of Tennessee. Nashville, Davidson County is the capital. I am lived expertise, which means I have been homeless with my large family 4 separate times, co-occurring, but all different scenarios. None of them were really because I didn't pay the rent or because I was stereotypically lazy or any of the stereotypes you hear. Um, that's why I came back and became the storyteller of poverty and homelessness, which is that title, the homeless CEO that I go by. And that happened while we were homeless. God gave me that title. I remember we did a show on I have a testimony, and I was talking about when God gave me that name, and how upset my husband was. He was like, "You gonna cause us to be homeless forever just by calling yourself that?" But it goes into reaching back and strengthening your brethren, and iron sharpening iron. So just want to speak on this ethical complaint because just as I stated, my term as chair ended 2 months early. And the ethical complaint that I sent out to Metro Nashville Davidson County was dismissed already, which I kind of figured that would be the case because these entities are able to not be accountable. Because they have other entities in place just like this to uphold their misconduct. Um, Behind the scenes, they have said things about myself like that without making it public, like I have. I went ahead and filed an ethical complaint, and just behind the scenes, I've been accused of being a bully to people, and just being what was the word? Like the divisive kind of, or causing discord. That's what it was. And that's not correct. All I'm saying is in our CLC charter, it states that we shall be paid for our lived expertise. Not as a homeless planning council member. I never expected it for that board. However, for the committees, I'm also a chair for the Consumer Advisory Board as well. And so within that position, and you have other people that are under my tutelage with that. And so they are either executive functioning like myself, other chairs, and then or the leaders that are coming up that should be able to take our place by being developed as leaders. And so with that being said, also you have the Youth Advisory Board. They are also being affected by not being paid. And what they said when they were receiving the payments that we got, which were $20 per hour, I feel like that amount with the wages in the city is outdated also. And so it'll just be a continual conversation that I have because, like I was saying about the youth, they said when they got the gift cards, that was the only way that they ate sometimes. And it's not enough to try to get somewhere to stay or anything like that. But I don't know. As the chair of the Consumer Advisory Board, my task is to get everybody that's lived expertise across and inserted into the entire continuum of care. And so that is my duty, my goal. I just did a very successful strategy retreat regarding the strategic plan that got it started, where it began to track progress while I was chair. And it's so many other accomplishments that I need to sit back and celebrate myself, because while going through it, it was all these different ethical complaints. And so I feel like I don't know, with the position, it was manipulated a lot. And so I did not get a fair chance like any other chair that would have been an attorney or someone of higher stature. I'm the first person with lived experience of being homeless to ever hold that position in this city. So you would think it would have been the support that I was told that I would be given, but I never received any of that. And I'm going to say, I don't know if the views disclaimer went out, but these are my own views. And I do have very much so black and white evidence and recorded evidence of everything. And to that point, there is no type of right to counsel exists for evictions, but there is no type of right to counsel for tenants in the city or people in my position where there is no way to grievance on an entity. So this was the only route, kind of the ethical review, or it's kind of another route, but I won't mention those right now. But I just want to put that out there into the atmosphere and universe because just the accountability measures of everything, and you just have it keep coming back as dismissed, or we're gonna brush over this, we're not gonna listen to, and that's further perpetuating the complaint by not holding them accountable. So yeah, that's kind of that. And I don't know, another thing that I saw on this complaint is stating that I'm already the former chair in this complaint,
Right.
or the response to the complaint. And they're saying on June 16th, 2025, but June 30th is when I was no longer chair. But again, like I read in the intro, I was not made aware of that. And when I became the chair, someone that was already chair was able to hold the votes and pass the baton on. She was supposed to guide me as the chair, but I didn't get any of that formal training, just a bunch of training that was to tame me, is what I was told. So I have no idea how ethically that all can be dismissed, but I beg to differ on that decision. And it's a repeated thing. I keep trying to report it to Metro Nashville, Davidson County government, and then you can't police yourself. So it needs to be an independent investigation on this. And I'm hoping there's somebody out there that can hear this, and it's not really any attorneys that you could get here that are not a conflict of interest by, being on the other side of the machine.
Right.
So I don't know if you have anything, Miss Charzette. I don't want to.
Well, the only thing that I probably would want to ask you, because they let you go 2 months earlier than what you were supposed to, did they have a meeting with you? Did they send you a letter? How was it that they was able to bring this to you?
Yes, so I was doing my normal monthly duties as chair, getting the agenda ready. And normally you do it with the executive committee, but I had to basically fire my whole executive committee because of a meeting that happened. I'm not gonna say the month, but earlier this year, and all of them walked out without the meeting being adjourned. At one time, uniform, they all walked out. And my thought with that was that was planned. Matter of fact, I thought it was in response to me signing on to the old Tent City petition. I don't know if you saw about that in the news. The oldest encampment in the city, which it was 40 years old, and they shut it down within 60 days. And people were asking for more time to be able to get in better places that were, because some people got put in places that were still not habitable. Yeah, so, and what that means is it's just not a place that is being fit to live in, and that's still being homeless.
So when you fired your team, this was before they gave you the notice?
Correct.
Okay.
And also, and matter of fact, like I said, I was turning in my agenda, and that's how I found out I was dismissed. By June 30th was the date.
So you didn't know prior to that?
Correct.
You didn't find out today?
And there was an election that happened. Someone nominated me from the floor to come back as a homeless planning council member. I was not voted back in for my second 3-year term. And so, with that being said, that's why they're saying that I could no longer be the chair because I was not voted back into the Homeless Planning Council.
Okay.
So, by some fluke and technicality, is why what they're standing on. And in this ethical conduct review as well, I do not agree with it. Also, from the standpoint of them saying that they're not part of the like boards and commissions, and we have a situation with the pay where their legal team, the same people that did this investigation or partial investigation, I don't think they really
Right.
cared to look into it honestly, but the same people are saying that we can't get paid because they are connected to Metro and the boards.
Okay.
So it's contradictory what you're saying in this ethical complaint, by way of you're holding our pay because you're saying that this entity is a part of whatever is connected, right?
So your pay has been held.
Correct.
And
Since February
Since February.
of 2025. Yeah, so, and it affects in a manner, and I always speak about how it affects myself. I can only speak on myself, but other people I know, like I said, under my tutelage are also suffering. Like I said about the youth, that was the only way that they could get food sometimes, by being paid by doing the work, and our expertise is to be
Right.
compensated.
So you didn't get paid, so that means your team wasn't getting paid.
Everybody didn't get paid. This is over 30 people, because my cohort, the adults, is 14 people, possibly minus one, because she didn't want to get paid. That's one of the ones that walked out
Okay.
with the executive committee. But yeah, and then the youth is really what is bothering me, to be honest. Even though my family suffers because I am dedicated to the work and I still show up.
Right.
Lately I've been resting, and I've been getting my family situated, because new grandbaby and everything.
Right.
So I feel like each person's family matters, and that's what type of chair I was. One gentleman, the one that a couple of them that nominated me from the floor, he stood up and said a speech where I was the only chair that ever listened to him, period, of the history of the CLC. And that speaks volumes.
It does. It does.
And just, I was the chair that was for the people. I can interact with the people. I already have a pulse in the community about homelessness, so it just is totally about the people for me, and just seeing everybody suffering, much less my own family. And it makes it where, like, my communication's out right now. If I wanted to fix our vehicle, I could not. And it's just causing issues intentionally. And I think it's to keep us out of the work. You sow discord in order to have that confusion and try to keep things derailed. So
without your team, you really can't move forward because you don't have that team.
kinda, they still exist, and we've been doing things kind of off the scenes, if you will, on our own independently, and that's where things are actually moving, even without funds. If we're able to get there, some people have bus passes and stuff like that, and a lot of times I ride the bus myself. But they came to the Community Impact Awards and supported me when I won the Community Impact Award with My Brother's Keeper.
Right.
Yourself,
Awesome.
you came,
Yeah,
and so those are the things behind the scenes that are very quiet, but like I said, I don't get to go and celebrate because of the fighting. And they'll try to turn it around like I'm fighting for something that I should be quiet about. And this is not the case. I'm fighting not only for my own family and self, I'm fighting for everybody that is lived expertise, that is a part of our cohort, that is on the roster to get compensated. So, and that should happen like a back pay to February.
You would
yeah.
think that they were prorated.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just make it right is the thing for me. And without us as the lived expertise, without the homeless people, they don't have a job. They don't have federal funds to come down, because then if that problem didn't exist, it's no need for those services without the people. So how are you treating the people? And a lot of times people are criminalized. It's so many stories I could tell that are really into the deep of how people are treated with standards of care. And talking solutions, we never could really put our solutions out there without them being stolen. So that's one comment I would always hear. Why don't y'all stop complaining and come with some solutions? And no, we refuse to continue to hand you our work, and you try to carry it out and it cannot carry out because you don't have the complete picture, because you're not lived expertise. So the solutions we have to offer are going to be I guess more open-minded on how we can end homelessness in Nashville, Tennessee. And we're supposed to be, that's what the strategic plan calls for, us to be incorporated into almost every part of the continuum of care.
So you're fighting for the homeless.
Everybody.
You're fighting for the homeless.
Yes, ma'am. Even though it has to come from my voice, just that's what I am as a trailblazer. It gives the spirit of Harriet. Always I've resonated with Harriet, and just going to prepare a place for our people so that they can have permanent homes at the end of the day is always my mission. And a lot of people try to diminish what is going on and your character, and try to make you out to be some certain type of way. Because
they're actually looking at you.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and in a sense, I've been attacked just because of my position, and my voice. They want me to shut up, so therefore, what do when you want someone to hush? You
they want you
attack.
To hush because you're trying to fight for a community of homeless. For the people to try to find them places
that are permanent,
that they can live in.
Correct. Yeah, and to touch on that, Ms. Charzetta, if anybody thinks about it, and this is something I've told them before too, if anybody remembers the Clover Bottom Centers.
I remember.
So at some point, one of the presidents wrote them out, where all of them got put out of those facilities. Those are our people that are walking around right now that are homeless. And so therefore, sometimes when you do put them back in, it's going to be recurrent because of their mental status, them not knowing how to pay bills, them not knowing how to work a thermostat, them not knowing how to work a washing machine. Simple things you and I can do, or anybody else might know. Right, and it's just levels to the people. So you need someone that can relate to them, that are peers, and they will be able to open up more, and then we can individualize how people are being helped versus a cookie cutter solution for everybody.
So
and it
you
doesn't
all need funds.
Yeah.
You need the help
And
money part.
They know that, and that's why they withhold it. Yeah.
But
That's
do you have
exactly
any
why.
success stories that maybe a homeless person went through that are now good somewhere to live? Or?
Well, it's plenty of those type of stories, and mostly for myself and with Miss April and Community Bridges Incorporated, we do a lot of prevention work. And so that's the space we're in. We're in the space of, because it's different buckets when you're talking about homelessness, because you have outdoor homelessness, which those are the encampments. You have large families. People really, that's not even on the radar, and that's the main families. You have single fathers. Those are not really on the radar. You might have single fathers with domestic violence. People don't think about that. Elderly, you got the veterans. So different categories and buckets. And I could say, as far as housing and homelessness, the best program that there is out here is called Hope. which is for the folks that might be dealing with HIV/AIDS.
Okay.
And they have a specific voucher, and when you're dealing with those, it's like I feel like every voucher in the whole system should mirror that. Yeah, and the supportive services. Not saying that each voucher gets that or the supportive services, but it should be as robust as that program. And it works beautifully, and people get rapidly rehoused. Versus this system that's in place, and it does not have many access points, and the system is clogged to where, especially black people, statistically it shows how we stay in longer than anyone else before finding housing.
And they do have other type of vouchers to help homelessness. People like
Yes.
got a family, put them up in a hotel.
Well, so how hotel vouchers, that's I would say obsolete here. We ended up having a hotel voucher, but it was only after my baby brother was murdered when we finally got a voucher. So it has to be an astronomical score on something called the VSPADAT. And the VSPADAT, it has different versions as well, some for single people, individuals, families. So ours was a family. We already had a high score, and then once the murder happened, that's when they put us into a hotel. So it takes something astronomical like that to happen in order for you to get something like that, if it actually exists. And you have to go through something called a coordinated entry system to even get in the system. And with that, kind of going into that system, if they feel like you're couch surfing, if they feel like you're in a hotel or something like that, they don't feel like you're homeless. If you're in your car, maybe so, but that's close to being outside more so than the couch and staying with family. So they feel if you're doubled up with family, you have a dwelling. And that you're not homeless.
Yeah, they don't consider that.
Yeah, that's the true, like, I guess, HUD definition of homelessness. So it's all these different terminologies, and you know, I'm the person that with consumer advisory boards, I was on Harry's consumer advisory board before the president shut that down as well. The national, I think it's something for healthcare. NIH is the acronym. I can't think of the middle name, but they shut that down, so we had to stop being able to be a part of that, which I love that cab. That was a great example of what a consumer advisory board should be. I was the co-chair of the Meharry Core Community Engagement Corps. And so what we did with that, from our lived expertise and being, you know, just humans versus scientists, we would disseminate what the scientists had and put it in terms of somebody like us could understand, right? So I feel the same way about the COC, that it should be translatable, to be able to be transparent, and no harm was my theme as chair, to be able to understand what's going on. No information should be hidden from people. That's including all entities that provide services. Why do we have different services that are hidden in the system? And it can help people be on stair steps out of poverty, and if the systems were working properly. So
let me get a little clarification. For Meharry, you said a president. Well, we're not talking about a president of Meharry.
no, ma'am.
We're talking about the president
United
of the
States. Yes,
Cut
ma'am.
that.
Yeah, the different programs that he could do to DEI language, or you know, the different executive orders he signed. A lot of entities got cut, and that was one of them. That and they paid us. They paid us beautifully when they did. And like I said, they set the standard for a cab for me, for a consumer advisory board, and just the things that we did, the interactions we had, the guests that came to speak. So I got to witness a a cab that was operational. My cab right now is being interfered with, so it just kind of halts the work inside the COC, but not outside of it. Because like I said, the people that are in my cohort, we're still all working together on, just things that we want to do sustainability wise. Just example, for the, like I was talking about the people that came to the award ceremony, we also just debuted at our, my pastor's 20-year anniversary.
Right.
We did, Our Lives Are as an Unwritten Song by Daniel Holmes. He's also a contributor, vendor, and so he's one of our cohort members, and several other of the people that are part of the Nashville Voices of Resilience Homeless Choir.
Right.
And we're going to be touring around and singing for sustainability to end homelessness. We just did some auditions. Those were kind of flop, but we came to the conclusion that if you're homeless, how are you going to get to us when we already have this situation of poverty?
Right.
We going to have to go to them and do the different, auditions and things of that nature. So we're kind of revamping on that part, on trying to continue to hold auditions and let people join as well.
One of the things that I did enjoy listening to the homeless choir.
Yes.
You all were fantastic.
Yes.
And the gentleman that's over it, let me make sure he wrote that song.
He wrote that song, and he can crank out a song. He's a writer. He's an artist. He writes for the contributor.
Okay.
Like I said, as a vendor, he's constantly got poetry coming out. And since that song, Our Lives Are as an Unwritten Song, and he recorded with Belmont and Ocean Way Studios too. And so they had the talking in there. I thought the talking was a whole
fantastic,
beautiful ad. And whenever I hear that song, it sounds like a soundtrack song to be like a movie soundtrack. And I always continue to sing it the rest of the day after we sung it. So we'll be singing it again at on August the 2nd with Pastor Jason Hughes and Kenyon Mimi Hughes at their church, Love and Grace Ministry. So that's gonna be one of the songs for sure. Anytime we showing up now for this rest of this year, that song's gonna be on the roster.
I love the song,
Yeah.
and you all put so much into it.
Yes.
And he was not afraid to sing that song.
He's got a voice.
He has a very
Oh my
outstanding
gosh.
voice.
And he also used to be a chef.
Okay.
So, and just thinking about that, formerly homeless people, you never know who they are.
Know who. Now, was he
Yeah.
homeless at one time?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's the point. Yeah, and has an organization called Morning Coffee. When we debuted in June, they were on the radio as well. The same day, that morning. And so I don't know. I really love the fact of the choir, and that's gonna go forth no matter who tries to speak anything towards us. That is going forth, and we have each other's backs. We've done potlucks. We'll go to each other's house and practice. So it's just like family to me.
Okay.
No matter what the person looks like or whatnot. But he also made a song already. He's got I know Diamond in the Rough is one of the songs. And then Faith Restored, I want to say.
Right.
And apologies if I had it wrong. Charge it to my brain and not my heart. But that's one he's dedicated to Claiborne Family Faith Worship Center.
Okay.
And so I think it's just beautiful, the collaboration, and like you said, they're already artists. They can paint. A lot of them with morning coffee artists, they have various talents, and then they also can draw, and they each have their unique niche of drawing. Mr. Daniel, I don't know if you got to see the card he passed around.
I did. I got.
He drew that himself.
Yeah, he talked to me for a little while.
Yeah.
And he told me that he drew it.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I would sign the card, and I told him that I would.
Yeah.
He began to tell me a little something about the choir, and
Yes.
a little something about what he's doing as well. So he was very inspirational.
Mm-hmm.
And I did tell him, I said, yes, I would like to talk to you more so I can understand it a little bit
We'll be
better.
bringing them here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. Soon as we can get them here, we're gonna be bringing them as
Okay.
guests. But that's like a success story.
It
That's
is.
one of the
Mm-hmm.
success stories of everybody. I we'd be here all day if we talked about everybody, but
Right.
I just say that definitely morning coffee is on the move, and it's just beautiful to watch. I do the homeless CEO karaoke, so
Uh-huh.
I'm one of the founding members of the choir. So
Right.
I love to, as a leader, let other people lead. It's not
That's it.
always about you leading when you're a
It's
leader.
not, because sometimes
Yeah.
it's so good to be a servant, just
Yes,
to
I
serve
love
the
to.
people.
I do.
Yeah, you don't always have to take over and be in front
No,
of everything.
no, ma'am.
You know,
I love to
sometimes,
flow
yeah, we
like
have to
that.
learn when to stand back
Mm-hmm.
so
When to step
others can
up.
come in, because we're not meant to take care of everything.
No, ma'am. And it's the body.
Right, it's the body, you
Yeah.
know. The fingers cannot do what your elbow can do,
No, ma'am.
and your feet can't do
Wow.
what your head does. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to let others, but it all comes together. It's
Together
one
for the
body
good.
for the
Yep.
good.
Yes,
So,
ma'am. That's a whole word right there, Miss
right.
Charzetta. I just heard kingdom when you said that, and that's exactly what we're doing. In addition, so that's another thing, because Mr. Daniel will be doing it at some point, and Community Bridges Incorporated is as well. But we got picked up by an apparel company. I was talking about this the first show. And my bag is ready, Miss Tarzetta. I
Okay.
cannot wait to show
Okay.
y'all my bag. Oh my
Okay.
god.
Okay.
Oh my god. It's got it's like a word cloud on it,
Mhm.
and it's navy blue, and it has Cherry Willow and myself
Oh,
in collaboration. So
that's
I
awesome.
just can't wait to share that.
Right. And we
And
love to see it for
oh
sure.
boy, I'm so excited. They sent
Mhm.
me the concept, the
Uh-huh.
and asked me was it good, and I was like, I want to pop color in there. So whatever I
Right.
tell them
Whatever. Mhm.
that I want, that's what they do. And
Right.
I know it's so many people that have been asked how to pour into all of
Right.
us. We we're setting those platforms up, but I mean, just like if my digital card, or by way of any of our Cherry
Right.
Willow
Mhm.
apparel, if you do Community Bridges Incorporated, if you do Morning Coffee Artists, once they're out, myself, so it'll just take care of kind of everybody in the
Right.
interim,
Because it's for
how
the
you
people,
distribute. Yeah,
and
it'll
even
go
people
across
that
the
are
board.
not homeless,
Mm-hmm.
they're able to help and do things
Yes.
as
Yes,
well.
ma'am. That, and we look for partners. We look for people to kind of sponsor stuff. I know Mr. Daniel, he wants us to have a van
Mhm.
so that transportation is not an issue for
Right.
any of us when we're traveling, touring, um, and when we have meetings, because we have a lot of things where we're involved with policy, advocacy. And when you talk about policy, that is statewide.
Mhm.
There is no real legislation about housing except for harmful legislation. So we need to be writing our own
Right.
bills, and
Right.
we really need a bill of rights for tenants here.
Right. You really do.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're working with other people out there that are the providers, beautifully, to where it just wasn't like that before, and everybody's kind of at the point where I feel like that strategic plan is
Right.
the key, because everybody wants to move forward, and everybody wants lived
Right.
experience incorporated
And
into
so
the.
even though the funds was cut,
Mm-hmm.
you all are still working
Still
around and
working.
continue to do what you're trying to do.
Correct. Now it's been kind of shoddy on the COC part because,
Mhm.
again, like I said, it's really being manipulated, unfortunately, and our narrative is being manipulated versus just let us do our work.
Right.
We simply want to do the work.
Mhm.
No one's here to manipulate. No one's here to
Right.
whatever that is, said that is incorrect. Or so discord, nothing like
Right.
that. So
Nothing like that.
I don't know who might be calling right now, but
Uh-huh.
we're during the show, so I don't want to mess with that. Unfortunately, sorry about that. Um, yeah, we just want to make sure at the end of the day, to end homelessness is the point. And I was just looking at something where, like, I would love to do documentaries and do different stories on people. That's kind of what this is too. So I just love to see each of the people, and I wish it was not a situation where, to me, I keep on calling it wage theft, because I mean, you got to call a spade a spade.
Right, right,
I don't know anything else to call it, because it is states in the charter for the CLC that we shall
right.
be paid. So I just think that should be a period. And just, it's been so many people that try to defeat that conversation, but it, again, in the charter, it reiterates, and
Right.
we were getting paid before our collaborative applicant switched to the entity that it is.
Right.
So, but I feel like I have had a graceful conversation about it. I would love to um, kind of hear other people's perspective on their experience too. Um, because there's so many voices out there.
So many
I'm
voices.
not the end all be all for the voices, but like I said, in a trailblazing capacity, I've been around a long time organizing and being a facilitator
Right.
in this realm and experiencing it on the ground. So
That's true.
I could really speak to the different areas and what I have learned as a provider and as a tenant as well. I was real shocked, Miss Charzetta, because I kind of have to file a complaint every which way. But
Right.
when I was doing one in another place, they were like, "Well, you have a dual profile. You got a provider profile and you have a profile as a tenant." And I was like, "That's interesting." And I keep trying to explain the dynamic, that I'm both, that I'm a provider in the community. People reach out to me almost daily, but I don't really have the capacity to take on clients right now. And a common misconception is that I find housing, and that's not what I do.
That's not what you do. You
Yeah,
do
no,
not
I do
find
not.
houses.
Yeah, so
Okay, but you work towards
permanent
homes
homes,
for homeless people
correct, or at risk
or
people.
at-risk people.
I try to be able to connect people into the resources, but sometimes those resources are at a slow leak.
Okay. Well, that's good to know
Yeah,
because a lot of people may misunderstand
yes.
that that prospect. So, do you all work with the whole Tennessee area or just Davidson County?
So Davidson County right now, Nashville, Davidson County, we do we're working with an entity to go statewide, that they're already a statewide coalition, so we're a part of that group. And then also we do a lot of national work. We're plugged into a lot of different national organizations that are kind of umbrellas, and they train us in professional development,
That's good.
and include us, our voices, into what they're doing on their end. So it's kind of like a, what do you call it, give and take relationship.
Right.
And when it's like that, that's great. But when it's one sided and you're just taking from the people, that becomes exploitation at that point. So that's not what we want to do. And even if I am not the chair anymore, I'm still going to be talking about this situation, because it's very dire that the
Yes,
people
it
get
is.
their, that's just like anything else out here, that like the staff losing their jobs abruptly. That's the same thing we're saying, because we're doing the work. It's not like we're asking for pay for nothing. We're literally out here on boots on the ground doing the work, trying
Doing the
to,
work. And even though you all haven't got paid,
yeah,
you're still doing the work.
correct, yep, especially me, of everybody. And the other people had got to a point where they couldn't get there. Transportation becomes an issue. And then you have things called like the Open Meetings Act that they have, and that becomes a barrier. So
Right.
that's what we're here to get past all the mountains and If that means we have to climb them, go around them, however that looks in the Lord, we're going to follow in his footsteps. That has been the most peace that surpasses all understanding for me, especially as chair, especially in this battle, especially as a warrior. Following in the Lord's footsteps and being obedient. The training that he has given for so many years, and now I finally see what that was. It was training the whole while. And then too, now you hear biblically how alive the word is, and that's happening right now. Even back to the service, the 20-year anniversary service for Dr. Judy Johnston. So we ended up getting a gift, my husband and I, and one of the gifts was wheat, which is WHEAT, wheat. And so in the Bible, it talks about wheat and the tare. And that's exactly the great divide that's happening right now when we talk about spiritual warfare and there being a ram in the bush, and especially like the Texas incident. Those people don't have a home right now. That's so true. And I heard a woman this morning crying out, can y'all just treat us like humans and help us get housed in this, and people that lost their one lady lost her husband, and then you heard the children worshiping. So to me, that sounds just like a whole Bible story. All those things happen.
The man that lost his wife, and he was looking for her.
Yep.
And they was telling him not to look in there, but he kept on looking. But he didn't find his wife, but he found some of the children that had been washed up. And so, they were like fussing at him, like, get away, move away. And he's like, I'm not in the water.
Yeah.
I'm just looking through here.
Trying to find my wife. Yeah.
He discovered some kids that
wow.
So you never know how God's going to
ram in the bush
to do something.
Wow.
And I could see the hurt in his face because he said, that's my daughter over there crying.
Jesus.
And so.
They don't know what just happened.
They don't know what happened.
Yeah. That is a tragedy. It's so many tragedies happening right now, and it is it's time. We know what time it is as believers, and just we're so grateful to be in obedience. And I felt earlier when I saw this complaint and that it was dismissed, I could feel the righteous indignation coming on that you read about how the tables was flipped in the synagogue, but I asked for God to keep a calm over me and be able to actually talk about this and talk through it, because it has to be talked about, it has to be known. We can't keep sweeping stuff under the rugs and telling folks to be quiet. That's a violation of your First Amendment rights. So
because your voice should be heard, and not only what happened in Texas. They had the fire in California. A lot of people lost their houses.
Yes.
Lost their houses. You got
they still ain't recorded.
Right.
Recovered.
A tornado that went through St. Louis. And
that just recently happened.
Understand of the war that's going on. The bombing of the buildings and people losing their lives. It's stuff, volcanoes are erupting.
Yeah.
And, the ground is opening up.
Yes, ma'am. Signs.
It's so much going on, but even though this is going on, it was going on way before we were even here.
Yes, ma'am. Nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new is happening. Nothing.
Yes. So, well, I tell you, it's I think it's been a blessing to talk about this, and I just wanted to go ahead and kind of, cause I've been quiet about it for quite some time, trying to remedy in the background and trying to go about it decent and in order. And just when you get to that point where it's a ceiling, you gotta break past that and go into what thus saith the Lord type of thing. So,
and I'm glad to understand. I understand it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been reading everything you sent out there.
Yes, ma'am.
But it just breaks it down when you really hear one-on-one talking about it and giving that input. because that helps me because I'm learning something I didn't know before.
Yes, ma'am. And the people too, that's the thing about it too, Miss Charles, that are like public education is
Yes, it
huge.
is.
Because it's so much that that's exactly what we want to do as peers. We want to pour into the people, and anything that we know, we're not going to gatekeep and keep information from them. So and that's what happened to us. So that's why we are advocates to be able to pour into the people and give them whatever information they need. I know Miss April, that's why she's not here today. She's working on a case with Community Bridges, and she's kind of in the 211 system, but it's just where you kind of got to back up because of the capacity
Right.
and them blocking funding from us. But
Yeah.
I feel like a mighty rushing wind, just like we see those storms and like you said, the war going on in the spiritual. God is gonna break all that up. I heard that earlier this month, breaking up the atmosphere. And so as long as we continue to do what we're supposed to do, obey, go forward, and I think it's in my worship, it's in the singing, it's in the touring, it's in every action that we do forward, that continues that momentum.
We're born with what we're supposed to do.
Yes, ma'am.
It
That
has
purpose.
to be activated, and sometimes we don't know what it is, but you have to keep on until it
Yeah.
becomes so bright.
That's
that
a
you
word.
You see it, you begin to see it. And I always say better late than never.
Yes, ma'am.
As long as you're able to see a
Yeah.
good purpose in a cause.
I heard Holy Spirit activate when you said that, Miss Charles. So, and we've come to the end of the show, unfortunately, but we will be back with you next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Nashville Housing First Responders, and we might have some folks to talk to next week that might come in and be guests. So look out for us next week. Bye bye.
The views of the previous show